This is Seth David from the world-famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, bringing to you another special screencast. This time we're talking about 3 secrets to using social media properly. Education is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call me right now at 866-945-8070 for information about private education. We record the live session with you so you can review it as often as you like afterwards. How to use social media properly. I think the word properly is a really important qualifier because I see so many people who, well, let's just say this is my opinion, are just doing it wrong. I see so many people. And the thing I think that bugs me the most about it is it's stuff that to me seems like it should be very obvious, you know, in terms of what not to do, especially by now. We've been at this long enough, using social media to connect and engage with people to, yes, promote our businesses ultimately, but I guess my feeling is that by now everyone should know that you don't actually promote your business on social media to promote your business. What you do is you socialize and engage, and that's how you do it. You add value, you contribute, and that's how you build a business properly in social media. So what that means is you listen and you engage. Listen, engage. And it's kind of got to be in that order. So, for example, I'm here on Sprout Social, which is my preferred app of choice for interacting in social media. Yes, on Facebook, I often, and probably usually I should say, do go directly onto Facebook, but I don't have to. I can actually do it all from here. There's just Facebook, I think, kind of just lends itself better to being on there. Anyway, you're seeing a feed here, and over here, we're seeing that we're looking at a feed that's tied into the Nerd Enterprises Inc. channel. And notice here it says the following within. If I click this drop down, it will reveal a list of all these sort of lists that I've created on Twitter. And there's a whole story behind how the following within got created. The short answer is it's based on the fact that I at one time had so many people that I was following that my stream was so badly flooded that I had to sort of carve out a group within that, a following within the people I was following, so that I could kind of be focused on the content from people whom I was actually interested in. Because initially I was just following everybody back. Eventually I vetted everyone and kind of started over so that my stream wasn't like that. But meanwhile, I've still maintained this following within list. So there are a lot of people that I'll follow back because of clear mutual interests that I can pick up on when they follow me just from reading their bio. But you don't sort of get into the following within unless you're somebody who I feel truly posts interesting content. If, for example, you're posting links out there to your own stuff all the time and it's just stuff that you have for sale, if you're posting links to your webinars, or if just everything you post is about you, then I tend not to include you in here. And that's another example of what I mean when I talk about, you know, how I feel like people just do it wrong all too often in social media. Otherwise, I would never bother with a post like this. How to do it properly. So how do we engage properly? We listen, and this is one example of how to listen. Of course, you can also do a search, right? So I can go over here and I can do a keyword search and say, you know what, who's talking about QuickBooks right now? And that gives me an opportunity to go, and what I'm looking for, generally speaking, specifically when I do something like this, is I'm looking for maybe people who are complaining because they're struggling with how to do something in QuickBooks, because then oftentimes I've got a blog post that answers their question. That'll get them through whatever they're stuck on. And that's a perfect engagement opportunity because now I'm not spamming people. I'm not shoving a message down their throat. I'm offering them a valuable solution and not asking for anything in return. What I'm expecting will happen, and it's only natural and logical, is as they click over to read my blog post and or watch my video, that gives them a helpful and useful answer to their question. See where I'm going with this? Then if I do that enough times, or if they see that I've got enough things that help them, yes, eventually, of course, they're going to say, hey, I'd like to go deeper. I'd love to hire you. This is great stuff. And I'm speaking from experience based on the feedback that I get from people. So the feeds is how you listen. Doing a search like I just showed you is how you listen. It's how you pay attention and see, where do I have an opportunity to jump in and get in on the conversation. Okay, then when it comes time to engage using Sprout Social, I'm going to click here on Messages. And Sprout Social has what they call their Smart Inbox. And what I love about this is alongside on my right here, I can be very specific and choose which networks I'm engaging on. So I can get rid of, let's say, QB Answers. It's a Twitter account I created a while ago as kind of an experiment. So I don't really, it's not active. And then as far as the networks go that I'm in, further below, I can choose which message types. I may want to weed out the new followers if I get a whole bunch of new followers one day, and I'm really not in a mode where I'm looking to go follow people back, but rather I'm looking for, again, engagement opportunities. I might want to turn that off. So I love the control you have over here. Down here you have brand keywords, which I can add and create. So I can, so if I click on QuickBooks Help, which again is a perfect way to look for opportunities to help people, because it's hopefully going to bring up tweets from people who are saying, hey, I need QuickBooks help, but it's also other people trying to advertise their QuickBooks help. So nonetheless, here's where, and it's also going to let me know anytime somebody's mentioned me on Twitter, if somebody's posted on my wall on Facebook or commented. So again, this is the idea here, is to identify engagement opportunities and go engage with people, right? So you can see these are people who are retweeting my content or mentioning me in their paper.ly papers and so on and so forth. So again, I can go in here, and this is where I look to engage with people. This is where I look to have the conversation. I've seen industry leaders in our industry who just put messages out there and don't engage. I've even reached out to them myself and said, hey, thank you for such and such, and no response. That's the worst thing you can do. It leaves people with the impression that you think you're too good for them. So it's really, really important. Anytime when I see, for example, somebody like Meredith Wood, who has mentioned me on Twitter, and she's responding to an article I had sent her the link to that I knew she'd be interested in, I already responded to her on this, but the point is that you're going to click this little guy right here, and you're going to send her a response, and at the very least say, hey, thanks so much for acknowledging me, and replace acknowledging me with the appropriate, sort of fill-in language, if you will. So that's how you engage. Then we have the publishing area of Sprout Social, which is critical because this is how, obviously, you can't be there 24/7, but you do want to build a mountain of content and then have that content going out there, sort of syndicating it. Again, the caveat being that content is value-added content. It's content that helps people. So here's my publishing. Notice I've got my queue loaded up. How I use Evernote to manage my blog post content, right? And this takes you over to a blog post and a video, of course, which explains what my process is using Evernote. Tracking income and expenses by sales rep in QuickBooks. You get the idea. This is all queued up. I've got 49 messages right now queued up in my Nerd Enterprises Twitter channel, my Facebook page, and my Google Plus page. So all three of them are getting hit, and they're going to get hit at different times. What Sprout Social has is what they call viral post. So it automatically monitors my audience engagement and figures out network by network when is the most likely time that somebody will engage with my content on that particular network. So if you notice here on Twitter, this next post is going to go out at 6:43 p.m. If I drop down to Facebook, it's actually going to go out at 6:26 p.m. I don't know exactly what the logic is. I can tell you that a lot of days I find that the Facebook post won't go out till like the next day, even though Twitter is going out. But I notice in the evening hours it does post more frequently, which when you think about it makes sense because hopefully during the day when people are at work, they're not reading my content or anyone else's for that matter. They're hopefully doing their work. So it makes sense that in the off hours is when people are going to be more inclined to stop and read a post that I've put out there about how to manage your blog post content, right? So it's in the off hours that I know that's when I do it. The time that I set aside to relax and read and absorb content is usually sometime between like 6 and 8 p.m. in the evening. So you'll see they've got my post scheduled to go out all the way as late as 11:46 p.m. And then Google Plus, oftentimes I find the timing seems to be very much consistent with Facebook. So again, there's some algorithm they use. I don't know what it is. I just trust that it works. And to me, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, as long as I consistently have content going out there, eventually it's going to hit. Somebody's going to see it and somebody's going to reach out to me and say, hey, Seth, I love what you put out there. It was really helpful. How do I hire you to, go deeper, to get more specific help in my business? So That's the publishing. Now, of course, where does this content reside? Here it is in my blog. I'll show you an example. So tonight, I just posted this post called "Time Tracking is Here to Stay for a While," and it's about T-Sheets getting $15 million in funding. But notice what I did. I thought, well, it's not really, I can't do a software tutorial, so I got in touch with Kelsey from T-Sheets, and I said, hey, would you do a 10-minute interview with me just so I can get video? It's that important to me to have a video that goes with every blog post, especially because that's my brand, that's my style, that's what people come to expect. And luckily, she was able to break away for 10 minutes and give me the time and get the interview done. So what I do, I got the blog post, I've got the video, I combine it, and then it's going to go into syndication here. Of course, it got posted everywhere on social media today right away, right as it posted, and then it'll get into the queue. Speaking of which, let's show my queue. So now here I use another tool, Smartsheet, where every single thing that I've ever published, pretty much, whether it's on my blog or someone else's, is kept in here. We keep track, of course, of the blog source, the update type. It could be an event or an announcement, a blog post. It could be a marketing tweet, because I do those occasionally. And all of it is just laid out here. So then we've got the URL, the short URL, and the tweet text. And the tweet text oftentimes is derived from the title of the post, but sometimes I want to do something different in there. Sometimes I might want to put, for example, when we queue up this one, I might want to put something with the @T-Sheets Twitter handle in there, right? So that when it goes out there, it will go out and mention them. And then here's the tweet, which essentially is the combination of the tweet text and the short URL. So a simple little formula written in Smartsheet to put that together. And way out here is the length test to make sure nothing goes over 140 characters for Twitter's sake. So that's how I keep it organized, and that's how I make it easy, because then all we have to do now is, my assistant does this for me now, is she goes in here and she copies this and she just loads it up into the Sprout queue. When you go to compose a message, there's your Sprout queue, and you can, if you want to put something at the top of the pile so it's the next one to go out in case there's something timely that you want to get out, you can queue next. Otherwise, you just stick it at the bottom of the queue by queuing it last. That, my friends, is how to use social media properly, and I gave you kind of a bonus in terms of how to keep organized about it. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out to me, Seth@nerdenterprises.com. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web.